Hey guys, so I am finally back to do my non-labor delivery story. um, but first, before I start, I want to do what I said I was going to do that I didn't do. So I'm just going to do it really quick. The doctor's appointment, update, whatever. The Thursday before I had her, I had an ultrasound to see how big she was. I'll show you the pictures and then I'll explain everything. Oh, yeah, of course. Okay. On the computer. Okay. Okay, anyway. Her estimated weight, keep in mind this was the day before I had her. Her estimated weight was 6'6". The biggest thing on her was measuring 37 weeks, and that was her torso part. It was only measuring at 37 weeks. Her head was measuring at 35. Like the bones or whatever they measure was measuring at 36. So at 39 weeks, she was measuring smaller, and I was expecting a ginormous child. Anyway, I had to be at the hospital. I remember I told you guys there was a bit of a dilemma as to I didn't know what time I had to be there. I just know that they said 7:30. So I wasn't sure whether it was 7:30 to be there or 7:30 that they were going to start the C-section. Well, 7:30 was the time that they were starting the surgery. So I had to be there at 5:30. I done all the pre-registering the Thursday of my doctor's appointment. I went to the hospital after the doctor's appointment, filled out all the paper, had the blood work done, all that happened that Thursday. So here we go into Friday, my non-labor but my delivery story. I got up at 5:30. No, I got up at 5. Got everything ready. Well, got everything loaded up. My cousin was here with the boys. And I left here at 15 after 5. Got there. Got in my lovely hospital gown. And they hooked me up to the monitors. And you have to stay on those even if you're having a C-section for like an hour, I believe. Just so they can do what they got to do. I don't really know. Anyway, in the process of the hour, mind you, it's probably about 5:30 now because I live literally 2 minutes from the hospital, so it didn't take long to get there. Oh my gosh. Let me turn this off. Okay. Anyway, it's about 5:30 now. Within the hour of being monitored, whatever, they started my IV, which had to be done twice. They put the catheter in, which I was hoping could be done after I was numb, but unfortunately. And I signed all the paperwork as far as what would have to be signed for the baby, like the eye ointment and the hepatitis B shot, all that stuff. Pretty much done the baby's paperwork. And they brought Justin. They let Justin come back in the room finally. When you first go in, they always make whoever's with you stay out in the waiting room until they get you all hooked up and stuff. So, within that hour, I done all that. About 6:30, I'm guessing, they brought him in. And then the anesthesiologist come in, and I signed all the paperwork for them. At 7 o'clock, they brought Justin his scrubs and wheeled me to the operating room. I got in there, got on that little bitty table, and they started my epidural, spinal, whatever. That I'll tell you later, like, on as I go, but it took them 3 times to get it in. They finally got it in, got me laid back, and as soon as they laid me back, I had the worst. It felt like my neck was in the worst cramp ever, and it would not come out. Like, the anesthesiologist was massaging my neck for a good 5 minutes to work it out. She would work it out, and then it would come right back. I will explain that later. They brought Justin in, and the same thing happened with the baby as it did with my last C-section. Just as soon as they laid me back, my blood pressure dropped. I remember getting really sleepy, and the doctor saying, "Is she okay?" And she gave me, I don't know if I'm right, I think it was called ephedrine to bring my blood pressure back up. And I was fine. This is the same thing they done with Peyton. And then they started poking and checking to make sure I was numb. It took probably a good 5 minutes to get my left side numb, because I could still feel the sharpness of whatever they were poking me with on my left side. I mean, on my right side, sorry. But I was completely numb on my left side. So, after they finally got that done, which they thought they were going to have to put me to sleep, thank God they didn't. But they finally got me numb. They started the C-section. So I'm not really sure exactly what time we're at, but at 8:24 a.m. is when the baby was born, when she was pulled out. So anyway, she was born at 8:24. She weighed 7 pounds, 4 ounces, and she was 18 and a quarter, I think. 18 and 3/4 inches long. I'm not really sure how you say that. But anyway, she was tiny. Well, tinier than what I thought. Anyway, I guess she could have been littler, but she was perfect. And they tied my tubes. No more babies for this gal. And sewed me back up. Took the baby out. Done their thing with her. And took me to recovery. Well, I'm laying there in recovery. And needless to say, I was very numb. Like, my hands. I've never experienced that with an epidural or a spinal with any of my boys. But my hands and arms were so numb in recovery. Like, my nose was itching, and I swung my arm up, pretty much smacked myself in the face to scratch my nose, and had to sling it back down. And I was so terrified when they brought her to me in recovery that I wouldn't be able to feed her, breastfeed her, of course, because I wouldn't be able to hold her. Anyway, it took a lot longer for them to bring her to the recovery room than what I remembered it did with Peyton. And Justin come in. We're sitting there. I mean, you're in recovery for an hour. Sorry I keep moving this, but it's And it had been about 35 minutes, if not longer. And the pediatrician came in. The first words out of her mouth, and I think somebody should have told me about this before she came in to freak me out. The first words out of her mouth were, "I bet the baby gave you a scare as she did us all." No, I didn't know anything. I had no idea anything had happened. I had no idea anything was wrong. Nobody told me nothing. The medicine they gave me to bring my blood pressure back up. And of course, everything that rarely happens to me. Anyway, the medicine they gave me to bring my blood pressure back up, mind you, they gave me this with Peyton. Everything was fine. Not only did it have the effect that it was supposed to have on me, it went straight to her too. So not only did it raise my heart rate, but it sped hers up too. It went through my placenta to her. So it sped her heart rate up, and I had no idea. I had no idea that anything had happened. I mean, even when they took her to the nursery, nobody told a nurse to say, go in there and tell the mother, or nothing. I mean, nothing. Oh my God. Anyway. Yeah. So they bring her to me. I feed her. I mean, I only get her for like 15 minutes, and they take her back out and take me to my room down the hall. Usually after a C-section, you wait about 4 hours. They bring the baby to you. You have the baby all day, whatever. That didn't happen. Where her heart rate had went up, for the first 24 hours, they had to keep her in the special. They don't have a NICU at this hospital, but they have a nursery and a special nursery. I don't really know, but it's not like an advanced NICU or anything. It's just closer observation. But for the first 24 hours, I could keep her for 2 hours at a time, and then they would take her back, and then bring her back, and take her back. Da 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 da. Sometimes I would pretend to be feeding her, so they would leave her in there with me longer. But they had to make sure that it was the medicine, and that the medicine was wearing off. Because it would have been in my breast milk, and they were making sure that it wasn't, you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so not only did I have that problem, the whole neck cramp thing, I'll just explain it this way. I'm not really sure exactly what their terms mean, but I know the lady that had done it the first 2 times did not get it. My epidural, that is. So they bring this male in, and he's the doctor, anesthesiologist, or whatever. He gets where he needs to be in my back, and his words were, "I'm at a 6, but I'm going to go on to a 7." I'm guessing go in further to make sure that he gets it where it needs to be. Yeah, he got it where it needed to be. He poked a hole in a pocket of spinal fluid. This happens, from what they say. No, I'm sorry. Well, this rarely happens, of course. But he pokes a hole in a pocket of spinal fluid, which then causes the spinal fluid to leak out, which causes my brain to sag, like, I guess, fall back or sag in the back of my head. I'm not really sure exactly what it means, but the pressure from the spinal fluid is what holds the brain up in the head or whatever. And when that started leaking out, the brain started to fall backwards. This is an unbelievable, the most painful headache I have ever felt in my life. There's nothing you can do to get rid of this headache. There is nothing you can take to get rid of this headache. I was on Percocet. Did not phase it. The only thing that took care of this headache was to lay flat. Breastfeeding a newborn, trying to take care of a newborn, that's pretty much impossible. Anytime I sat up, anytime I stood up, I squalled in pain. It would cause me to throw up. I mean, I cannot explain to you how bad this was. Okay, so I come home. No, the day before I leave the hospital, they give me a blood patch, which is to take blood out of my arm, pretty much do the epidural again without the catheter. They stick the needle in my back, take a syringe full of blood, put it in my back, and clot the hole, which would take care of the headache. Well, they do this. Did not work. Didn't work. I come home for a week and a half. I had to lay in the bed. I could not get up. I could not walk. I mean, of course I had to walk. I mean, I had to go to the bathroom and take a shower, but the whole time I was in excruciating pain. Anyway, didn't work. A week and a half later, the following Tuesday, I think, or maybe the Tuesday, I don't know. Maybe she was almost 2 weeks old. Yeah, I went back to the hospital. They done a repeat blood patch. This rarely happens that they have to repeat a blood patch. It happens to 1 in 300. Are you kidding me? Hello, I'm your one. It took, thank God. I mean, seriously, I thought that something really bad was wrong, that I would never get rid of those headaches. It took. They got it right. They had to use 5 more cc's. They used 15 cc's the second time. The pressure from the blood, it clotted the hole, and the pressure from the extra blood pushed the brain back up in my head. That just sounds so intense, but I mean, it was so bad. Anyway, since this video is almost 20 minutes long, I'm going to do a separate video and introduce you guys to little Miss Berkeley, who is, well, it's Friday, so she is now 3 weeks old. So yeah, that is how, and all the stuff that I had showed you guys in my hospital bag, I didn't get to use it because I couldn't get out of my bed to use it. I wore one of those gowns. I did kind of tilt myself up in the bed and put a little bit of makeup on. But other than that, I didn't get to use anything. It was so bad. I didn't get to enjoy her for the first week and a half. It was really crazy. But other than that, the delivery was good. It went smooth. That's about it. But I'm going to end this video and start another one.